Hello and hope we're all doing well. Welcome back to the Rocket League video. This of course is going to be our RLCS regional predictions for both North America and Europe. I want to firstly say before we hop into what should be a very short episode as I give you guys my opinions for the opening and secondary matchups, I'm not going to predict it all the way through. I'm only going to predict all the way through the matchups that do matter and confirm the 4 teams from America and 4 teams from Europe, which will be on the main stage or in the finals as well. And firstly, I do want to say, here's my opinion, okay? We all know Rocket League is very unpredictable, especially with these teams this season being very competitive as per usual. I could be wrong, I could be right. I'm just giving you guys my opinions. I would love to see your opinions down below. But let's hop into the first one though, all around Cloud9. Yes, I will be taking Cloud9 in their first matchup against Space Station. There are some thoughts it could be a closer series because Space Station did take that last series against them, and I do believe in 4 of those games it was actually Space Station surprisingly scoring the first goal, if not in all of the games. It was a very close series back and forth, and yes, we have seen Cloud9 kind of not being the Cloud9 we know them for, the world champs, and performing very well the first half of this season. I don't really care how poorly they've done the last 3 weeks of RLCS, or in the fact that the qualifiers they've had some poor showings as well. I have to take a former world champion trio that is still there over Space Station Gaming. They show up in regionals, they show up beyond regionals, and so for that reason and that reason only, I have to take Cloud9 in this opening series. But then when we hop down to Ghost Gaming versus Rogue, it gets a bit trickier, right? A lot of these matchups are going to be coin flips, especially when it comes to Europe. We have some stellar matchups for, I'd say, both regions as well. When it comes to Ghost versus Rogue, I'm going to take Ghost because, first of all, I'm very biased. If you guys watched from the very start, I'm a Ghost Gaming fan. Ever since Illusion came on as well, he seems to have found a role there, not only scoring for the team, but also leading the team in some sort of direction. You know, they're on momentum right now, won 3 of their last 4, and I think they win this series against Rogue because Rogue offensively, although they looked, somewhat strong, I guess you could say last weekend, that Space Station series was all very close. It took them still a couple games to wake up offensively, and besides week 5, offensively, Rogue has not really figured things out. In my book, they were down there towards the splice end when it comes to offensive pressure and that sort of thing. I think Ghost, though, they ride this momentum past Rogue, and they beat them in this opening series, and I will continue with that momentum and the fix that Illusion has been for this roster when it comes to secondary matchup against Space Station as well. I will be taking Ghost along with it, because if Ghost can actually beat Rogue in this opening series, I'm very confident they can beat Space Station. Of course, Ghost is coming off that 3-win streak we mentioned earlier, and when it comes to a team like Space Station, although they have beaten Cloud9 in week 4, this past weekend, some very close series, including which they lose to Rogue. So kind of, I guess I could transitive property. If Ghost is able to beat Rogue, they should be able to beat Space Station, and along with that, of course, Space Station losing to Rogue, that series against Splice, the worst team in the league. I'd say a lot of us can agree, not only in standings, but as well just overall how they looked every week besides that first opening week. Space Station Gaming went to Game 5 against Splice to show you how weak they might have been last weekend. I think Ghost qualify, and yes, they were so close last time around. I think it was actually Evil Geniuses who knocked them out of the running in regionals last season. This time around with Illusion, it doesn't happen. Then we headed over EU. Our first matchup is a complete coin flip. Absolutely 100%. I cannot predict this 100% correctly, and I'm not really confident about this. That being Triple Trouble against PSG. I've been saying it ever since the start of the season. I am super surprised both these teams actually grabbed the spots they were in 3rd and 4th at 4 and 3, and they've had some very stellar wins. But when I look at a team like Triple Trouble, they've taken down 2 of your best teams in Europe, including the best team in RLCS this season, that being Vitality. They also beat Dignitas alongside that. And when it comes to inconsistency, I've always preached that PSG is the inconsistent team out there and have been for quite some time over in Europe. Although a very good team this season, and when Fruity and Farah go off, they are very dangerous. I have to take Triple Trouble. But with that being said, they both lost to Barca last weekend, and I would say pretty convincingly. So this should be a very close matchup. I give the slight edge to Triple Trouble. In this other matchup, this will potentially make history. Either way, we're going to see a top European trio not be at the finals for the first time in quite some time. If it is Dignitas, though, obviously the bigger story there. And with that being said, I have to favor Dignitas, and there is no reason in this series why you should not as well. They are definitely the better team this season, and along with that, especially over the past 2 weekends, is Dignitas winning 3 of their last 4. TSM have crumpled, and I believe lost their last 3, especially, or at least their last 2 this past weekend. They looked absolutely miserable. Something either clicked in that roster but did not look themselves. Dignitas themselves, though, this past weekend looking very stellar, winning their last 2 matches to keep themselves alive in this spot as well. And when it comes to a former world champion, despite having a 1 new member, I cannot doubt these guys. They have to want to return to the finals just as much as TSM would, but when it comes to historically record-breaking moments, that would be TSM taking down Dignitas. In this, I have to favor the experience. Yes, Yukio might be your newest member. There might have been some struggles here and there, but when it comes to recency, the last last 2 weekends, TSM has looked rough, and Dignitas has been on the comeback to what they once were. Dignitas should be winning this series. And especially when you look at last weekend, Dignitas actually beat TSM head-to-head. I think that factors into these things, and I would really doubt many people to doubt Dignitas in this situation, although anything could happen, and easily Dignitas could be going home before the finals for the first time in their history ever since Turbo joined that trio. But very lastly, speaking of a world-class team and experience, I have to give the edge of Dignitas, and anything can happen in one series. Gotta make that noted. I'm sure you guys as Rocket League fans know that. We're gonna see upsets amongst most of these teams. We're gonna see of the likes. We could see both TSM and Dignitas go home. We could see Cloud9 go home. Really, no one knows the future of all these teams out there. We will see upsets. Will this be one of them, though? I really do think Dignitas should make this lower bracket run, and that's who I am favoring. And those are my teams, I think, the 4 European teams as well as the 4 North American teams who should be going through. But as always, hope you guys all enjoy. Feel free to leave your predictions and your reasonings as to why you think those teams are going to go through down below. I love reading your comments, and I will see you back here Monday, of course, breaking down what finals teams we will be seeing when it comes time for the RLCS main stage. But as always, my name is Jake. I hope you guys all enjoy. Have a great weekend watching some great Rocket League, and I'll see you back here soon.